dans la caserne, c'est quoi? Distinguished ladies and gentlemen of the press, we want to use this opportunity to welcome you at the headquarters of the Uncompromising People's Liberation Party. We want to use this occasion to recognize all of our district youth leaders here present, the movers and shakers of this great party. We also want to use this medium to recognize our Women Assembly of the People's Liberation Party. We also want to use this medium to recognize the leadership of the Revolutionary National Youth Assembly of the People's Liberation Party. Distinguished colleagues, today remains a historic day as the road leading to 2023 has begun and a true liberation is about to emerge into the democracy of our country. Today is the first major national press conference that will be held by the Revolutionary National Youth Assembly of the People's Liberation Party, highlighting issues of national concern and telling the people of Nigeria and the world at large the vision, the mission, and the ideological beliefs of the Uncompromising National People's Liberation Party. So distinguished body with no time to waste, I want to use this occasion to officially welcome to this podium the most powerful man at the level of the National Youth Assembly of the People's Liberation Party. A man who has fought thousands of battles and won all. A man who is fearless, a doctor of revolutionary science. A man who did guerrilla warfare at the level of 400 degrees. A man who is the most powerful man, and when he speaks, it means that the entire country has spoken. On the basis of that distinguished police, I will reduce myself to intellectual drought and call on to this podium, comrade, revolutionary ideologue, liberator, Dr. Carlos Tinga, Edison, Carlos Tinga. Liberation! The time is now! Liberation! The time is now! The time is now! We are ready! Thank you very much. The National Youth Assembly of the People's Liberation Party, PLP, South, Edge, Water Avenue, opposite YWCA, Congotown, Monrovia, Liberia. Press statement for immediate release. Under the theme, telescoping the challenges of Liberia and presenting the People's Liberation Party as the only viable alternative for genuine social, political, and economic transformation and reliable democracy that guarantees prosperity for all in the motherland. Our most honorable and intercessory political leader and vision bearer, Dr. Dana E. Kassir and his beloved family, our distinguished revolutionary and dynamic national chairman, Comrade Leader Wilmot J. Mpe, and all leaders and members of the People's Liberation Party throughout the 15 political subdivisions of our beloved nation, sons and daughters of Shattertown, ghettos and hamlet, civil society actors, marketers, motorcyclists, farmers, taxi drivers, casual laborers, students and various students' leaderships, school teachers, nurses, members of the armed forces of the Republic of Liberia and the security sector, widows of ex-soldiers, our distinguished brothers and sisters living with physical disabilities, street peddlers, various religious leaders and religious practitioners, the chief Zoe and members of the Traditional Council, eminent citizens, distinguished members of the Fourth Estate, the African Union, AU, the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, the Mano River Union, MRU, the United States of America, USA, European Union, EU, and all our other distinguished regional and international partners, comrades, liberators, my fellow Liberians throughout the landscape of the motherland and abroad, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Liberation! With an extreme gallantry and the revolutionary spirit of patriotism, the National Youth Assembly of the People's Liberation Party holds in high esteem not only the genuine causes of liberation of the Liberian masses from the dungeon of abject poverty, deprivation, oppression, and all forms of social, political, and economic marginalization, but also the sacrifice of protecting the sovereignty and the survivability of our dear republic. Therefore, it obligates us to stand up with all our revolutionary parades activated whenever this country of ours is fast falling and failing to live up to the true meaning of its creed entrenched within a statement of the Declaration of Independence that was read exactly 8 scores and 12 years ago, which states that we recognize that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator certain inalienable rights. Among these are life, liberty, the right to acquire, possess, enjoy, and defend property due to bad governance instituted by a group of organized criminals that continue to succeed in taking over state power from the foundation of our country. This national and sacred responsibility lies squarely on our shoulders, and we must act with the corresponding urgency to save the motherland from an irreversible collapse. Against this backdrop, the National Youth Assembly of the People's Liberation in fostering peace and justice through the attainment of sustainable democracy that subscribes to the rule of law for our country and its people in the face of terrible challenges. The United States government stands through its embassy not to cooperate with warlord Prince Johnson, who was recently elected as chair on the Senate Committee on Defense and Intelligence because of his well-documented atrocities committed during the Liberian Civil War, is wholeheartedly welcomed by the PLP's Youth Assembly. The U.S. Embassy noting as well the continuation of Chancellor Sherman, sanctioned by the U.S. Department of the Treasury for corruption involving judicial bribery,
As chair on the Senate Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights Claims and Petitions is our concern as well. It is an acknowledged fact and experienced reality that Liberia is one of the world's poorest countries, not because people of this great nation are so desire to choose such dangerous path of persistent unhappiness invoked by the fact that some forms of imperialist system imposed on our people has stubbornly kept them deprived and oppressed from basic state opportunities such as access to quality education, good health care and delivery system, guaranteed social security, economic freedom and justice, which are in themselves components that enhance the ability of every individual to freely strive earnestly for a better life. Instead, it is the continuous failures of regime after another to adequately respond to the safety and soul happiness of the people required by Article 1 of the 1986 Constitution of the Republic.
Liberation! Liberation!
These unbelievable failures of successive political leadership, whether enlightened, military, or transitional, in the history of our country, to provide an enabling environment for the logical competition of progressive ideas that will catapult Liberia into the orbit of modern civilizations and global respectability, and the achievability of the full potentials of every Liberian has left us to think fervently about how Liberia, in its approximately 5 million population, can be totally liberated from the network of diabolical political machinations of backward reactionary elements stratified in political leadership of our country. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, as we experience yet again another untold suffering as people of this nation under this inept government of reggae-style and full-balling President George Manneh Weah, who over a significant period of time has demonstrated and continues to demonstrate an uncontrollable and unquenchable appetite for luxury for draining state coffers into his criminal personal account against the interests of the Liberian people. It is now clearer from all indication that the problem of this country are far bigger than the pulling ability of Mr. Weah to resolve or address. Under Mr. Weah's leadership, Liberia continues to experience crumbling economy that disallows the economic freedom of all Liberians living in its territorial confines and increasing hardship that has devastatingly engulfed our population with an unprecedented speed. The economy of the state remains very volatile and vulnerable due to high inflation, weak fiscal measures, and feeble policy actions as expressed in the March 2019 International Monetary Fund IMF report.
Yo, the like the thing they're going to have to rebound the economy.
Yeah. Growth forecast is in a constant declining state with only an insignificant sign of recovery. In our opinion, this is a clear demonstration of poor managerial skill and lack of understanding real factors responsible for our economic misery under this pastor and reggae president and his group of self-seekers. It was during the beginning of this very regime that Liberia was ranked the poorest country on earth by 24/7 Wall Street in 2018, November 29, and published in the US. And very lately, our country was also ranked as the 5th corrupt nation in Africa by Transparency International. The alarming and continuing refusal of this government to pay civil servant salaries and allowances has not only frustrated many Liberians, but has also led to the self-immolation of strongman Leroy Achipompong, who, with many other judicial staffers, staged a strike action at the ground of the Temple of Justice in demand of their just salaries owed by this irresponsible George Manneh Weah government late last year. These are inconsiderate and thoughtless. The nation and its people remain hopeless and miserable than ever before. Liberians seem very thirsty for real change and genuine solution, but the CDC-led government appears unfit Unfeta and Tlemcen to rescue the country from prevailing economic discontent that is already experiencing zero foreign direct investment. I repeat, the nation and its people remain hopeless and miserable than ever before. Liberians seem very thirsty for real change and genuine solution, but the CDC-led government appears unfit, unfeta, and Tlemcen to rescue the country from prevailing economic discontent that is already experiencing zero foreign direct investment. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, my fellow Liberians, as we jointly experience together a series of different economic challenges as people of this great nation, as an effect of the chronic economic and increasing hardship in this vast regime, we also agree never to forget the record attack on the rule of law that has witnessed the persistent and consistent violation of our constitution and other laws of the land, bad governance and poor public administration, attack on press freedoms and our democracy, and many other unfulfilled promises. But with God being on our side in our national quest for freedom, justice, and prosperity, we can now optimistically confirm and assure you that we have seen a very bright light at the end of the tunnel. As the Bible rightly stated, weeping may endure for the night, but joy cometh in the morning. Distinguished fellow liberators and members of the Fourth Estate, with the 2023 general elections in mind as the only medium through which true liberation of the people can be achieved democratically, the CDC-led regime headed by superstar George Manasseh is bent on employing an already known traditional method of politicking, which requires the misuse and abuse of state power and further looting of state governments to sponsor gang groups of various kinds, armed with lethality and charged with the sole responsibility of instigating total violent social disorder in every corner of our country before a re-electionary period, and to finance their CDC-trained and hired assassins to eliminate people as important target to them in order to perpetuate themselves into power and protect their ill-gotten wealth, on one hand, while on the other hand, we are also conscientiously following and witnessing the speeded metamorphosis of group of professional and career criminals who immediately announce on various media that during their 12 years of state management, they willingly and willfully, with clear conscience, intentionally squander opportunities that were meant for the progress of our nation and all its people under a specific nomenclature in an effort of disguising themselves of their real corrupt and evil identity in their naked quest for regaining state power, which in the mind of the PRP's national youth leadership will never land on a fertile ground of our political landscape.
Liberation! The time is now! Liberation! The time is now! The time is now! We are ready!
At this vantage point in the contemporary history of our country, while the Liberian people are tirelessly and disappointingly spectating these fruitless spectacles of both CDC and the Unity Party-led CPP, we witness the emergence of PLP not just as a newly certificated political party, but a national liberation movement serving as a game changer and a new hope for the Liberian people. My fellow distinguished citizens, in view of their aforesaid, the leadership of the National Youth Assembly wants to categorically present to you, the Liberian people, Dr. Daniel E. Cassiel and the People's Liberation Party as the beacon of hope and the only viable and genuine alternative for political leadership for a sustainable democracy that guarantees prosperity and security for the citizens.
Liberation! Liberation! Present all of the democratic pedigree to move this country forward. Yo, yo! Yo!
education as an opportunity to inform the general public that Dr. Dana E. Cassiel is a true Liberian that hails from Lofa County and member of the Bandi ethnic instruction or tribe. He is married to Madam Belu Rose Coleman Cassiel, who hails from Grand Kidmount County and member of the Va tribe. They are both surviving with 6 children, devotedly serving our one true God and the Lord of hosts. Dr. Cassiel is a well-educated man and an American twin with BSc degree in kinesiology and psychology. He also earned his first master in the area of public health, with second master in psychology and emphasis in behavioral medicine, the same disciplines in which he obtained his PhD. The emergence of Dr. Cassiel as the political leader of the People's Liberation Party in our Liberian politics has not just only sent a shock in the spans of failed politicians, but has come to us Liberians as a joyous daybreak and a major break away from the old politics of deception and sinister operations of greedy politicians whose only agenda is to gain state power as a channel of achieving their selfish parochial criminal interests of enriching themselves at the detriment of the suffering masses. This genuine call of the appealing silence of the majority shall constrain us all to conform to the very idea of liberation for the masses united by Dr. Dana E. Cassiel and the PLP's family, so that together we can march straight forward with a heart filled with one purpose of love, commitment, and sacrifice to the cause of redeeming the motherland through the ballot box and the subsequent taking over of state management.
Liberation! The time is now! Liberation! The time is now! The time is now! We are ready!
When Dr. Dana E. Cassiel and the People's Liberation Party's family shall take over the presidency of the state. This rotten, inferior, and chaotic educational system that is involved with all forms of academic exploitation and backwardness shall be replaced with a popular, compulsory, quality, effective, and decentralized functional educational system with an unavoidable access for all Liberians.
Liberation! The time is now!
It shall also be a distinct repository of knowledge which shall produce an incredible excellence in all sectors of our society, which include, but not limited to the following: the agricultural sector, the health sector, the security sector, the economic sector, the infrastructural sector, as well as in the judiciary system, not forgetting the area of science and technology, etc., etc. When Dr. Dana E. Cassiel and the PLP's family shall take over the presidency of the state, this import-based, antiquated economic system that is noted for only afflicting painful and deteriorating economic difficulties or challenges shall be replaced with a rule-based labor market system which supports fair competition and the protection of all competitors. An industrialized economy where all the means of production shall be made available to support individual capitalism consistent with global rules of free market system. An economic crime code shall be established to fast-track recovery process of all lost assets and to expeditiously adjudicate individual who engages into financial misappropriation or system defraud for the purpose of gaining undue financial advantage at the expense of state plundering.
Liberation! The time is now! Liberation!
The time is now!
Economic growth!
The time is now!
Economic growth!
The time is now!
Economic growth!
The time is now!
Oh, the PLP has done the establishment of the World Bank. Yo!
Yeah!
Modern agro initiatives at the industrial scale will equally be replacing subsistence farming. Processing plants for agricultural products shall be erected at various necessary locations for the purpose of production. The Made in Liberia inscription will be registered on all our locally made and exported goods that will be shipped to the world market.
Long live, long live, long live, long live our economic policy. Long live. Long live. Long live, long live, long live. The main Liberia economic policy. Long live. Long live. Liberation. The time is now. The time is now. We are ready.
With the availability of the required labor force, finding lucrative jobs will be at all time easy. There shall be a sustained, conducive environment for all who believe in the struggle for endless and fair accumulation of wealth.
Long live, long live, long live, long live, long live, economic empowerment, long live. Long live. Long live, long live, long live, employment opportunity for all, long live. Long live. Long live, long live, long live, People's Liberation Party, long live. Long live. Oh,
so, people who dislike the path of hard work but believe that thievery is only the cool access to prosperity will always be found behind a rusted bar on some beach and in other prison facilities. Liberia shall no longer be a safe haven for any criminal or the ground for the commission of any crime. The culture of impunity that has long overwhelmed our country shall be no more. The establishment of war crimes code shall be a must. People who committed heinous atrocities and other war crimes shall be harshly punished. To discourage violence and unlawfulness in all forms and to set a new deterrence to potential perpetrators of crime in the future. When Dr. Dana E. Cassell shall take over state power, Liberians shall be honorably evacuated from all those occupied prehistoric Memphis structures erected around the country and ushered into a well-designed modern architectural structure to experience the true meaning of modern civilization. With Dr. Cassell as president of the Republic of Liberia, a new Liberia with freedom, where freedom and justice for all shall roll down like a stream of water. A new Liberia where patriotism in the security sector will triple the height of Mount Everest, and the power of our armed forces will be consistent in both air and sea superiority. As a professionally equipped and modernized ground force shall be realized to protect fundamental rights of the people and the sovereignty of our beloved nation.
Atino! Atino! Liberation Atino! 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 Liberation Atino! Atino! Yeah, you. Any other way, say Zayo. 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 We'll produce our own stuff in Liberia. We'll get made in Liberia. All of us say Zayo. 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 Indeed, true liberation will come to the country. It says Zayo. Zayo.
The stain of illiteracy shall be no more. A new Liberia that shall be regarded as a middle-income country will now emerge, and our name shall be erased from being a third world country to a first world country. Our traditional cultural activities will now become our added value that shall be taught in our school system and in every home in order to maintain our beautiful God-given ways of life. Therefore, as the call has been made, it is falling unto you to disconnect yourself from individual or institution that does not represent the sincere cause of the new Liberia, which has been envisaged by the PLP's family and be done with this movement in history to effectuate the aforesaid in the physical reality. This is a responsibility that we, the leadership of the National Youth Assembly of the People's Liberation Party, cannot afford passing on to the next generation. With vigor and determination, with humbleness and confidence, with faith in the promise of tomorrow, let us march straight together, enduring supporters in the cause of Liberia that is more peaceful, more flourishing, and more just. The time is now, and we are ready. Long live the People's Liberation Party. Long live the liberating spirit of all liberators. Long live the fighting spirit of Dr. Dana E. Cassell and the national chairman, Chairman William J. Mpe. Long live the struggle for social justice and economic freedom for all. And long live the peace-loving people of Liberia. And God bless Liberia. done on this 24th day of May 18, 2021. Signed Kevin Adonis Bonner, Secretary.
So quickly distinguished ladies and gentlemen, as the most powerful man, I just presented a clear roadmap to the liberation of our country. We will not be here for long. We will afford to use the fourth estate, a maximum.
We didn't give a clear roadmap as to how the PLP gonna achieve some of these things that you talk about.
Another one. 2 into 1. Who else?
Okay, my name is Camille Lamar for this public justice. You talk about the establishment of war in economic crown court. What are some of those mechanisms that your political leader has already put in place while awaiting his experience in that position?
Thank you so much. And the first question spoke about one mechanism to achieve some of those things that we just made mention of. This is the whole idea, a pictorial of the whole idea for which PLP stands for. So what mechanism is a decision, is a technical framework that is on the way. And that is a strategic work that is being done by the GPC of the People's Liberation Party. But what is needful for the public to consume now is to present to you what is the summary of our idea of liberation that we are professing. And to my good friend and sister, Neva, you talk about mechanism of war plan code and what contribution are we making. The fact that we are having an elaborate press conference and highlighting how the PLP's led government will be led is in itself a major contribution to the establishment of the War and Economic Plan Code. Never you forget that the establishment of the code is the sole responsibility of the government to sign into law. Now we are not taking over state power. So whether they do it or not, we are going to effectuate that to be able to provide the condition where Liberians can be served justice.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Another person? Okay, I think it is clear. So, distinguished ladies and gentlemen of the press, we want to appreciate you, and always we will continue to do this as a liberational party to ensure that the people of this country will be liberated one day. Liberation! Liberation! Thank you very much, distinguished ladies and gentlemen.